So yes, welcome. There we go. We're live. So welcome, Alex Cox, actor and also director and writer of sometimes. So how are you doing today?
Very well, thank you. And yourself?
Yes, we're good. So what we'll do, we'll just say hello to the people already in the chat that are commenting and finding a lot of praise for you. Love Repo Man, and we'll be supporting your new Kickstarter. There you go. That's Pugwell, and the link is there in the chat at the beginning, and I'll put it in randomly as well. Then Bornhinge says, "Have you watched Alex Cox music video for the Pogues?" Yes, I have. That's that's the one. Is it like an Eastern European sort of thing, isn't it? On a train, it starts with, and then
it's the Circle
line,
isn't it? The Circle Line in London.
That's it. The very famous Circle Line, yeah. You can't get off. One quick question. What inspired you to make Sid and Nancy? Did you like the Sex Pistols? I think that's a yes.
The answer is yes. It would have been pretty terrible if I didn't like the Sex Pistols music, wouldn't it? That'd be pretty
Well, awful. It would have been an interesting take. Can't stand these two people, but I'll make a film about them anyway. But yeah, that was 86, wasn't it? I remember seeing that. Yeah, a few times now.
Yeah, that's right. Made in 1986.
Gary Oldman. Right. Well, just before we speak to Terence, Terence is the lovely gentleman that gifted me the Repo Man VHS, I think. So thank him for that. But yes, he wants to thank you for your excellent body of work and for educating us on great cult movies via BBC's Moviedrome. Thank you very much for that.
It's a pleasure.
I would like to thank you too, because you introduced me to so many films: Wicker Man, DOA, Night of the Comet, Trances, Assault on Precinct 13, Terminator, Something Wild, Manhunter. You name it, I was there watching you introduce something every night on the Friday night, I think it was it, or Saturday night?
Sunday evening on BBC Two.
Yeah. Yeah. They were released, was it uncut or was it mostly?
I don't know. It was really whatever the BBC had in at the bottom of their barrel. I mean, the BBC had a lot of films under license that they weren't sure what to do with. And a producer who worked at the BBC called Nick Freand Jones had the idea of combining them into a sort of a weekly show, which he called Moviedrome, and which they hired me to be the presenter of.
Very good. And yeah, so that was like 4 years you did that for, didn't you?
Yes.
Because I've used some clips myself for that, because I did a watch party of Manhunter last month, and I did your introduction instead of me doing one, so it saved me some time. So Moviedrome was the Dog's Gonads, says Win32. It's very nice of him. Let's just check. Ian's here. He also loved Moviedrome as a teenager, ignited his passion for films and filmmaking for a lifetime.
Excellent.
So yes, Suffice says, looking forward to this. So I'll just go for, what was your personal favorite Moviedrome movie? Would it be your own Wanted?
My own Wanted? What was that?
Sorry, not Wanted. Walker.
Oh no! I mean, you couldn't pick your own. I mean, I think I don't think I reviewed the Walker. I think I read the monthly film bulletin review for Walker, which was completely negative. Now, my favorite probably would be the Giulio Questi movie, Django Kill. Very interesting Italian Western. But also, I was very pleased that we showed some films, some Italian Westerns, which had never played in Britain officially before, including Django, The Great Silence, and Requiescant. And I was pleased about that, because they were films that didn't have an official presence in England until they screened on Moviedrome. So that was very pleasing.
Oh, that's great, because you do like a spaghetti Western too. Do you like other normal American Westerns, like the John Wayne stuff or earlier stuff, or is it just the spaghetti
No,
ones that
I
you
mean,
prefer?
no, there were wonderful American westerns. I mean, I was a big fan of John Ford and Henry King,
Okay.
and Lonely Are the Brave, that Kirk Douglas film. There were many, many great American westerns. But I think that what was interesting about what the Italians did in the 1960s was their revision of the American genre and their cynicism and their irony and and that they were more willing to make political parallels in films like Bullet for
Right.
the General, which I think we also showed. A number of Italian westerns were quite critical of political events, but they would use the western as a guise in order to make it a commercial film.
Right. Lovely. Let's have a look. Just a lot of praise for Moviedrome from the Turn the Blue Iris. The Reaper Man is a classic. Dragon Wolf. Scottish Geek Guy Moviedrome is a huge part of my formative film making years. Thank you for that.
It's a pleasure.
Moviedrome. Yeah, he also made films, and you just didn't introduce them. So yeah, but I like everyone's saying you introduced people to a lot of films, and then yes, Savoy says Reaper Man is one of his favorite concepts from any movie ever as a beautiful idea. Very nice. Now, yes, this is another thing. Like the giant monster movies, you've written a couple of books. Have you got one with King Kong coming out this year? Have you?
No.
There's the internet for you.
I don't have a no.
You've done a Godzilla one.
No. No.
Oh,
You're interviewing the wrong guy.
Alex Cotton.
You're trying to interview a guy who made a film called Wanted and has written a book about King Kong. But that must be somebody else.
Well, this is Wikipedia. I'm gonna have to edit all this, but we'll just carry on because I've seen I'm gonna skip all the movies because someone asked me earlier about Repo Check. Now, she was wonderful in that.
Well, she's good. She's a very good actor. That woman is a really, really great actor. Jacqueline Jeunet.
Yeah. Yes, very nice. Because they said she was. They didn't see much else of her after that because they would have loved to see more of her. But
yeah, I did 2 films in which she appeared. I think she may have had a baby afterward. I think that was always a sort of priority, and so maybe she went and did that after those 2 films. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think she's been doing a lot of acting since then. I had an email from her not too long ago.
Sorry, it just glitched for a second then. But yeah, now I'm in Western Supermare, so not too far from Bristol, where you if it's right, Alex Cox, you did attend.
I did. I was in the Radio, Film, and Television Studies program, as it was then called, and I have a certificate in Radio, Film, and Television Studies from Bristol University.
Nice. Because how long were you in Bristol?
What? Pardon? Oh, for a year. Oh,
how long were you in Bristol for?
It was a year-long course. So that would have been from 1976 to 1977.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, my internet is dropping out, I think. So.
Oh, did you get the answer? I said I was at
Bristol from
1976 to 1977.
Yeah. Thank you. So then you moved to LA for film school at UCLA.
You're breaking up a lot. didn't get
Yes,
the
I
question.
think I am. Hang on. Let me just check my connection here. I'll just check
Now I can
what's
hear
going
you.
on,
I can hear you better
why
now.
I'm getting problems. I'll just remove that. I'll just check my settings. Right, take that off. Sorry about this.
Oh, that's all right.
So yeah, you're in Oregon at the moment.
Yes, I'm in Oregon and on the Pacific coast of the United States.
And it looks, it's a lovely area. It's one I'd like to visit.
Oh, it's very nice. It's a very beautiful state. It's very large.
See.
It's got a beautiful coast. It's got forests. It's got high desert. Yeah, it's beautiful. Very nice indeed.
So what do you go for, like walks and hikes and stuff like that?
Say it again. Do I go for? Oh yes.
Hikes and walks.
Oh
in
yes,
the
yes,
countryside.
yes. Well, we have 2 dogs as well, so the dogs keep us busy. Yeah,
Oh.
so we're inevitably taking.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's have a look. So yeah, that's what we'll do, because bring on the campaign, and hopefully things will settle down. So yes, this is going to be your last movie, allegedly.
That's what it says. Yeah, I will be 70 years old this year, and so given how difficult it is to raise money for feature films, this may very well be the last feature film that I ever make. So I'm encouraging people to support the Kickstarter campaign.
So what I'll do while we're here, I'll just run the video that's in the project. So just give it 2 minutes and we'll watch this.
Excellent.
My name is Alex Cox. I'm the director of films including Repo Man, Sid and Nancy, Straight to Hell, Walker, and Tombstone Rashomon. I was also the presenter of a TV series called Moviedrome. Tombstone Rashomon is the most recent film that I directed. I made it almost 10 years ago. This year I turned 70 years old.
So I can just wear this for the whole day, can't I?
And yet I persist. Because it's my vocation.
Aye, there's the rub.
And I'm hoping that I can ask you to join me on this journey that I am calling My Last Movie. My Last Movie has nothing to do with Dennis Hopper. It's an adaptation, a Western adaptation of Dead Souls by Nikolai Gogol that I want to shoot this October in Almeria in the south of Spain and in the Saguaro Desert outside Tucson. It's the story of the mysterious Strindler who pays top dollar for the names of dead Mexicans and the use to which he puts them. You remember Mel Brooks, the author of Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein? He thought that Dead Souls was the best book he had ever read. He had a great quote about Dead Souls. Yes, it was a revelation. I had never read anything like it. It was a life-changing gift, and I still read it once a year to remind myself what great comic writing can be. Well, I can't promise you great comic writing like Dead Souls or a literary masterpiece like Blazing Saddles, but I will do my best. Please, back My Last Movie on Kickstarter.
There we go. So
yeah, looks good, huh?
Put
Looks
that
like
link in the chat again. There we go. Is it going to be a one-man show where you do the acting, the directing, and the writing? And
well, I don't think it can be entirely a one-man show. I think that there are other people needed to like act in it and to shoot it and to do the art department and the costumes and edit it and do the music and sound design. A lot of people involved in the production of a motion picture.
Yes, that's why we have to raise the
That's
money.
right.
So you've got 80,000 already. So we'll go through what's required and what people can support with now. Just bring my window up. So there we go. So we've got 22 days to go.
And we just want to raise as much money.
But get in as soon as you
We
can.
just want to raise as much money as we can, because the more money that we raise, the better the film will be. And the more I will be able to pay my collaborators, and the more,
yes.
and the longer we can stay in the location, and the more horses we can have, all that stuff, which makes a good Western, even if it is based on dead souls.
Cool. So there we go. Right, let's scroll down and have a look. So yes, you get to back the project and story. So yes, the update. The Cemetery Award is so popular they've run out of space in the graveyard. So there is a new
I
reward.
went up into the attic and I found a bunch of other stuff. So I've got a whole load of old DVDs and Blu-rays and T-shirts, posters, so people can have that stuff in lieu of their name on a cross in the cemetery. And there are various other awards. You can get anything from, get anything from a copy of the soundtrack by Dan Wall, the soundtrack, the score, to you can be executive producer, and everything in between.
There we go. So yeah, starting, well, you can start from $1, or you can get, the first award is the soundtrack for $11, which is already about 29 backers already. So yeah, you're looking to start shooting, was it in October?
Yes.
And then release the film in the fall of the next year, is it?
With luck, yes. We'll see how it goes, because with independent films, what you really have to try and do is get the film in a festival. And so with luck, we'll get a good festival placement for the film when it is finished. And that then we hope leads to distribution.
Great. Because, making a film has never been an easy project, but did I disappear again?
Yep.
All right. I might just swap my computer in a second if it keeps playing up, because it's a shame that we can't carry on. But there we go. So yes, it's going to be filmed in Almere, Spain, and Tucson, Arizona. There you go.
Yeah, that's right. We
Perfect
start in
locations for Western.
We start in Almeria on the 14th of October. We shoot there for a week. And then we relocate to Arizona and we shoot for 2 weeks in Arizona.
Lovely. So yes, like it says, it's the same territory as the Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in the West. So nice. Well, there, did you? In
Can't hear you.
All right. I'm gonna go off and come back in if that's all right. I'll just be right back.
I'll just stay here. Okay.
Right. Hang on. What do you think? Right. Hello, sir. How are you?
Oh, I can hear you better now.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know what was wrong with. Okay, I got it back up. Right. Let's start this. I'll just check this. Got it on full blast. Right. There we go. And right. So move that. Add that. There we go. Now I just have to connect to this, and we're ready to go. Right. So yes, the options are download the screenplay, which you can get a copy of this year. If it's because it's how close to the book is the story going to be?
It's somewhat similar. I mean, it's somewhat similar. I mean, the book was meant by its author to be the first of 3 volumes. And Gogol wrote the second volume a couple of times, but burned most of it because he wasn't happy with it. I don't think he ever got into the 3rd volume. The idea of it was that the first volume would be a story about human sin and bad people. The second volume would be about human virtue and good people. And the 3rd volume would be about heaven. But obviously, it's much easier to write about bad people and much more entertaining. So the first volume came out and was very successful. He struggled with the second volume for years and years and years, and was never happy with it. But fragments of it still exist. And I don't think he ever even embarked on the 3rd. So this is based on the original book, Dead Souls, by Nikolai Gogol, with a few fragments from the second volume, which still exist and which I've incorporated into this, including the story of the hero's sad childhood.
Oh, cool. Because so you get the screenplay for $22. You can stream the movie when it's completed for $33. Plus, you also get the items included previously for all these things you pledge for.
Yeah, and then as it goes down, you get other stuff. You can have a DVD, you can have a Blu-ray, you can have a poster, you can have it signed. You can have a thanks to, you can have a special thanks to in the credits. You can be a producer, a co-producer, an associate producer, co-executive producer, or executive producer. You know, all these are possible.
Yes, and you can pay for the whole thing if you want to.
Well, I don't think that's not actually an option. I think it maxes out at a certain amount of money. If you want to pay for the whole thing, you have to contact me separately.
Right. So yeah, anyone that's because yes, there we go. So $10,000 for the executive producer credit. So that's very nice. Are you hoping to have a premiere of such when it's?
Yes. In fact, the part of the deal is if you're at the producer level of the Kickstarter campaign, then you get 2 tickets to the premiere.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Where will the premiere be? I don't know, because it depends where we get invited. The last film that I made, we were very briefly invited to the Venice Film Festival, which is highly prestigious. But then we were quickly uninvited because they discovered that the film had played in Tucson, Arizona, where it was made.
Right.
And they're very strict and don't allow a domestic screening prior to their screening. So film festivals all have different rules, and you have to be aware of these things.
Yeah, I guess we can see it from that, but yeah, it's a shame. But yeah,
that's all right. You know, it all worked out okay.
Good. So yeah, it's got some shots of where you're going to be filming here. These 2 towns in the canyons of the Taraneras Desert. Let me go to Tucson.
And there's a couple of pictures of the Arizona desert, and yeah, there it is. And all you have to do is you go to Kickstarter and you just type in "my last movie," and then you will be drawn inexorably to the page. You can back it up.
So you're going to reach out to people you worked with in the past, further actors. Oh, potential cinematographer. Very interesting one.
Yep, still waiting for that. The surprise information is still to be revealed.
Right. So yes, if you enjoyed all these other films, especially the Western style ones, but we'll have to point out the risk. But yeah, you've never.
I don't think it's necessary to read the entire Kickstarter page. I'm sure people have got an idea of it by now. I mean, there's a Q&A section as well, but I don't think you need to read the Q&As.
Okay.
I think it's okay. But I do hope that people will indeed be encouraged by your showing them this site to visit the Kickstarter page and to support.
But yes, it's there. The link is in the chat, the description, and on the community page of the website, my web channel.
Great.
But, so, are you okay to take a few questions from the chat?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. There you go. Ian's just pledged, chose the autograph disc option, and of course, as an offer, I choose to uphold physical media.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think physical media is very important because a stream can always be taken away, but your DVD is yours to keep, or your Blu-ray.
Yes, very true. We're finding out a lot more about that.
Your VHS copy.
Yes, no one's taking those and changing them. Because someone asked about Repo Man and Cincinnati getting a 4K release ever.
I think actually in the States, I think Criterion have just done a 4K UHD transfer of Repo Man, and that will be coming out in the US later this year. They're also the US distributor of Sid and Nancy, so maybe they have something similar in mind for that. And as far as Britain and continental Europe are concerned, I'm not sure who the UK distributor of Repo Man is. I think that the UK distributor of Sid and Nancy was Canal Plus, Studio Canal. And so what their plans are, I don't know.
Okay. So yes. Let me get my mouse to scroll up there. Okay. Yes. Funny enough, there's another spaghetti western fan in the chat. Always enjoy your take and knowledge on spaghetti westerns. What is your most underrated spaghetti western, and why?
Oh, the most underrated one. Well, I don't know, because the ones that are generally highly regarded are rated fairly highly, aren't they? What's an underrated Italian western? Well, there's a film. There's a film called A Minute to Pray, A Second to Die, also known as Escondido, which stars an American actor called Alex Cord and Robert Ryan. But apart from that, it's entirely Italian-aided. All the cast are Italian or Spanish. It was shot in Spain, and it's not very well known, but it's pretty darn good. Okay. And actually, there's another one that I would recommend as well, called Death Sentence, which is like a portmanteau film of 4 different short westerns, kind of sort of cobbled together with a revenge motif, which is also a very interesting film and really worth watching.
Okay.
They're lesser. I don't know if they're underrated, but they're not as famous, say, Django films or the Leones.
Yeah, because there's a lot more options these days, because they seem to release these westerns now more on the Blu-rays than they did ever on VHS or DVD. They seem to give special treatment.
Yeah, I think all of these films pretty much you can find, or a lot of them you can find on Blu-ray. There's also a good French one, which is kind of highly regarded. There's a French western that was made in Spain called Cemetery Without Crosses, and a lot of that is just played mute. There's very little dialogue for most of it, and that's an interesting one too.
Okay, so there we go. Some options if you can get them. So yes, there we go. He's definitely back in this, only a couple of hours away from Mini Hollywood in Almere. Do you need someone for a cameo or extra?
Yeah, wear your Western costume, your Western costume on the 14th of October, and we'll put you to work.
All right, we got another see. What's the name of your dog?
Oh, my dog is called Shadow.
Nice. So everyone's now. The winner from 1996. How much of this? How the script came your way and your thoughts on it? Because according to the trivia, it wasn't the version. It wasn't edited the way you wanted, or am I?
Oh no, that's correct. It was. It came my way. I think because I had an agent. Can you believe that? You know, in those days, and somebody sent her the script, and she really wanted me to do it because it was a payday, and so I did. I think that's the only film that I have directed that I wasn't really involved in the development of.
Right.
But it had some interesting actors. Vincent D'Onofrio, Michael Madsen was very good in it.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Thornton, Delroy Lindo, and Frank Whaley, a very good actor called Frank Whaley, Richard Edson. So there's some good actors in it. But it was kind of weird because after the film was finished, the executive producer really didn't like the character of Frank Whaley. So he went back into it and re-edited it to kind of diminish the presence of Frank, which was impossible. Frank is all over the film. He's just such a powerful and weird and interesting actor that you couldn't really get rid of it. And the other thing they did, which was really funny when observed, was they took out the music and they got another score by a different composer. So I always thought what had gone on with that film was that they'd hidden away a bunch of money, you know, which they hadn't told us was really there, you know. And so then at the end of the film, the executive producers got together and said, okay, now we can spend this money, you know, so we'll commission a new score, you know. And so they kept the $1.5 million and spent 25 cents on this music, which was really quite terrible. So that was disappointing because a lot of the film, the visual aspect, I think was very nice. It was shot by a guy called Dennis Maloney. Looks really nice. It's all masters. Each scene is a single moving master. It has a very nice visual aspect. And the last scene is very good, but you need to find it with the original soundtrack. The composer tells me that the original soundtrack tends to show up if you see a stream of the winner. As like as not, you will actually see you'll hear the original soundtrack by Dan Wool. Although I think he might have been going by the moniker of Pray for Rain because that was his band as well as, you know.
Oh, okay.
As well as the film thing.
Yeah, because I did see that available. Then I read that you weren't very involved apart from filming, and I thought, oh. And
I was involved in the editing of the film up until completing it, you know. I mean, we
and then they did it.
But after delivering it, then they went in and played around with it.
Because it was similar with you wrote Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
I was the co-author of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas with Todd Davies. Yes.
Right. Yes. And then what were the problems? You had to fight to get your name put back on it because they used so much of your stuff in the script.
Oh, well, I think the thing was that the producers on Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas were very confused, and they'd originally gone out to two different actors and offered both of them
right.
the lead role, which is something you should not do. And so they hired me basically to fix that problem. But once I had fixed the problem for them, I cast Johnny Depp and the other guy who plays Dr. Gonzo, forgotten his name.
Yes.
But once I'd hired those two guys, the producers started thinking, "Ooh, we can take this film to a studio and get more money," you know. And they took it to Universal, and Universal said, "Sure, but Cox isn't an acceptable director for us." So then they hired a director who was more acceptable to them. And then the struggle came for us to try and get our, you know, to retain the screenplay credit, because since they used our screenplay, we did feel that we should get the credit and a modest payment.
Yes, and you won, which is
we did.
Cool.
We got the writers
on the credits.
Recognized our authorship.
Great. Scottish Geek Guy just getting the autograph Blu-ray. Very nice.
Thank you.
Good evening from the Dutch Film Buff. Mike Barrett says, any plans to do any more spaghetti western commentaries?
Oh yeah, if I get asked to. I did one quite recently for Kino Lorber, but lately I've been doing more commentaries for Italian political thrillers, which has been quite interesting. I've done a commentary for Illustrious Corpses, which is an excellent film by Francesco Rossi. I did a commentary for a Giuliano Gemma film called The Iron Prefect, which was very interesting, about fascism and the mafia.
Right.
I did a couple of other ones. The Working Class Go to Heaven. And more recently, another film with Gian Maria Volonte, very, very good actor, who was in Italian Westerns and also was in Italian political films in the 60s and 70s. A film called, the title is Slap the Monster on the Front Page. Absurd and not very good title. No, but the film was quite interesting. And so that's been fun also because I've been able to branch out and do commentaries in addition to Italian Westerns, these very interesting Italian political thrillers from the 60s and 70s, especially, I must say, especially Illustrious Corpses. Anybody who hasn't seen that, it's really worth watching.
Right. Sold on the title for a start, so yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just Francesco Rossi. I mean, Francesco Rossi was one of the very best Italian directors, and it's a super film.
Great choices, Alex. Death Sentence has just been released on Blu-ray in Germany. I'd like that one. Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's a good one. I saw it in the pictures in Liverpool many years ago, in the 60s, and it always stuck with me. It's an interesting film with a real visual and pictorial style to it. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Because growing up in Liverpool, how much time did you spend in the cinemas?
Oh, lots and lots. Yeah. No, I loved, because I wasn't really very interested in footy, So
right.
But there were lots of cinemas. There were several fine cinemas. There was the ABC and the Odeon, the Gaumont, the Scala, and the Futurist, which was 70 millimeter. And even out in the outskirts of Liverpool, there was the Abbey Cinerama. So I actually saw 2001 in Cinerama when it came out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I bet it. What were they like? Were they ornate and lovely, or were they like just sort of flea pit type places? Or
the Futurist was very ornate, and some of the others were a bit more run down, And it was interesting because in those days, when you went to the pictures, people were smoking, and so all my recollections of watching films is watching films through like columns of smoke rising between me and the screen. That was how I went to.
Yeah, it's amazing when you think back because people couldn't see the screen for all the people smoking, and you tell people that these days they think you're joking. Like restaurants, everything, just pubs, you couldn't.
Yeah. Everywhere you could smoke, and if you didn't smoke, it didn't matter because you'd come back smelling the smoke anyway. It was so adhesive to your clothes.
Right, where is it? Dutch Ramon says, is that the one with Thomas Milian as the albino Carlos?
Yes, it is. That's the one with Thomas Milian as the albino killer.
Oh. There you go. If you had unlimited budget for a movie and could work any two actors, who would it be? That's
alive or dead?
Yes, I'd say that. But yeah, alive or dead, I'd go with. Just
are the actors alive or dead? Do they have to be alive?
No, I'll say no on his behalf.
Oh, no problem. Gian Maria Volonte and Klaus Kinski.
Oh,
definitely, and a Western, obviously.
Nice. Yeah, because
and on the question why? Well, because they're just such tremendous actors. I mean, I think that they're very different actors. Volonte was very political and wanted to talk politics all the time,
Right.
And Kinski didn't really care what he was doing, He either wanted to talk about himself or or chase women, you know.
Yes.
But they were fine, amazing actors, very intense, very interesting actors.
Heard of that, Klaus.
Yeah, and so I think that to make a film with Klaus Kinski and Gian Maria Volonte would be quite something.
There you go. Oh, Marky Marks, yeah. A Boy and His Dog, as first seen on Moviedrome, is a film of mine now. Yes, there's a lot of introductions
but
people had.
I don't think I screened A Boy and His Dog. I think that was after I had left the series, and probably by Mark Cousins.
Because how did Moviedrome come about? Was that, like you said, it's just a producer from BBC said we need to fill up some late night TV with these films we got in the vault, and
yeah. I mean, they had all of this stuff they didn't really know what to do with, because it was so variable. It wasn't all horror films. It wasn't cowboy films. It wasn't all thrillers. And so this producer, Nick Jones, came up with the idea of a sort of an eclectic like film club that would play once a week, and I was asked to be the front man for it, and so for 4 years I was, and it was interesting because I was actually able to criticize the films. I didn't have to say, "Oh, this is so great." You know, I could say this film really isn't very good, but there's one moment when this happens, or there's a very good performance here, or there's an interesting piece of art direction there, you know. And that was really fun. And I think that's also contributed to the longevity of it, that I didn't just have to be like a stooge saying, "Oh, this is the best thing I ever saw." You know,
yeah.
say, you know, it's not very good, but it's worth watching for this reason.
Am I remembering right that the films were actually shown in widescreen, which was unheard of at the time?
Well, I think they might have made a try. Now, what was the broadcast format in those days? Was it still 4:3?
Yeah, up until
so they probably would, if we could have, certainly with Italian westerns, with Django and with The Big Silence, we would put you know, letterbox top and bottom.
Yeah, because people back then didn't understand what widescreen was.
If it was available, sometimes the video copy that the BBC had was already, you know, reframed for television.
Okay. That makes sense. Let's have a look. What was the first movie you saw at the pictures, Alex?
It was Goliath and the Dragon, a gladiator movie with a brontosaurus in a cave. And I saw it, and I was about 5 years old. I saw it with my dad while we were on our holidays in Morecambe.
Right, nice. Two genres you never think would go together, but it just works.
Yeah, interesting, huh?
Yeah, Marky Mark says 2001 in Cinerama must have been mind expanding. Yeah,
mind expanding. It was a little disappointing in the sense that the not the film, but the experience, because we had the local newspaper, the Liverpool Echo. The film reviewer was like a kind of real literal-minded guy, and he didn't understand the film at all. So what he did was he told you the entire story of the film, including the end. You know, which you really shouldn't do.
It's not. Yeah, that's not a review, is it?
But he was so confused by it and didn't know what to make of it. And so in his confusion, he just decided to ruin the experience for everybody who went to see it. But he couldn't ruin it entirely because it was so amazing.
So, yeah. Even if you know what's going on, it's hard to explain. Yeah, new filmmakers. Are there any new films or filmmakers that you've seen that you think they're great?
Oh, I saw not long ago. I saw Konchalovsky's not a new filmmaker, but I saw Sergei Konchalovsky's film Sin about Michelangelo, which is the best artist biopic I've ever seen.
Right.
And I went to the pictures last week to see a film called that just come out called The Bike Riders.
Ah, yes.
Because I used to be a motorcycle enthusiast, and I was hoping for something like Electric Light in Blue with lots of fetishism of motorcycles, lots of carburetors and exhaust pipes and all of that. And it wasn't really that. It wasn't that, but it was an interesting exposition of how the motorcycle gang came about and how it changed from being a really benign and well-intentioned motorcycle club existing locally into a large-scale criminal enterprise stretching across the USA. And I thought it was interesting. I thought it was. I wasn't happy with the ending, but I won't tell you what it was.
I've heard there's something at the ending.
To see that story, and there was some very good acting in it. The guy who played Elvis is the lead, and Tom Hardy is in it. Tom Hardy plays the leader of the bikers, and really, and there's a lot of good acting in it. A lot of good acting. It's worth going to see for the acting. If not, although the motorcycles don't get much of a look at.
Because I think Electric Light and Blue was on Moviedrome at one point, was it?
Right. Oh yeah, probably. And Electric Light and Blue can't be shown anymore because of the wokeness and the fact that the lead actor is, I think, still in jail for murdering a lady. And so you just can't screen Electric Light and Blue anymore. It was in offense, but it's a fine film with some great performances and lots of shiny chromium.
Yeah, it's a very shocking film, especially the ending as well, isn't it?
The ending is incredible, isn't it? Yeah, the ending is the antithesis of Easy Rider.
Yes. I wasn't expecting that when I saw it because it's an odd title. I've seen it before, and I thought, I wonder what it's about, but I never looked into it. And I finally watched it. Bloody hell!
The Electric Light is the name of is the particular type of Harley Davidson that they're riding. Blue is because they're policemen. So it has the
two details I didn't know going in. I thought, it's just like a cop thriller. I bet. Yeah, that'd be fun.
But it's so odd because motorcycle cops. You don't see motorcycle cops in the Arizona desert. You don't see them in Monument. They're an urban phenomenon, but it doesn't really matter because it's a fantasy. It's a fantasy about motorcycles and manliness and being short of stature, and it's a very interesting film. Very well directed film. The director only made one film, and it's quite a good one.
Okay. So Nos is here, and he's not over familiar with your work, but I do love that library behind you, and he's going to try and discover your work to enjoy. So start with donations.
Yeah, there's some books here too, as well as films. We've got some books.
Do you want to say some titles because I got them wrong last time?
Oh no, I can't. I would have to turn around and start reading. What's behind me now is, the top shelf is all science fiction.
Okay.
And then the top shelf is science fiction short stories. The second lowest shelf is science fiction novels. Then there's a whole bunch of stuff about Wyatt Earp and about Billy the Kid. H.G. Wells' The Outline of History, a bunch of books about Mexico, about Peru, about Russia, Spanish dictionary.
Nice.
And so on. We get right down to the bottom of this. Some copies of Mad Magazine.
All right, just something different. But yes, check out Alex's stuff. We need to get Nick Brian Jones to commission a new documentary series hosted by and narrated by Alex Cox back on the BBC. There you go. Nick did the Exosphere of God 2, perhaps a series of Alex's favorite genres. Are you welcome back at the BBC?
No, the BBC aren't going to do that anymore. It's it's different now.
Yes.
It's different. The TV presenters, you have to, fit a certain model, and I don't fit that model. So I don't think I ever did fit the model actually, but somehow I managed to sneak past it.
Yes. So, it's a director. It must be. I know his name. So someone's asking what the last film you saw at the cinema. We've done that one.
Oh yeah, but that was what it was.
Yeah.
It was the
I think it's fair to say that most of our film education came from programs like Moviedrome and similar shows on ITV at Channel 4, but it doesn't feel like there's any program of the like these days. No, there doesn't seem to be anything on telly that's film-wise educational or check this film out.
It was interesting that I remember that one of the reasons that I stopped doing Moviedrome was because they didn't want to show foreign language programming anymore.
Oh.
And that was very sad, because showing the foreign language films was a great pleasure, and something that, and contributed to the film literacy of the British television going public, and that was a New Labour thing. And New Labour were very, Blair and those guys, they were very interested in dumbing down the population and denying them a real cultural experience, And so I think that happened at the BBC. I got in a debate in the pages of a newspaper with some guy at the BBC who kept insisting, oh, no, there's no prohibition on foreign language programming on the BBC. And I would just write back, well, where's the foreign language program?
There you go.
I'd seen Yojimbo on the BBC, and I'd seen Throne of Blood on the BBC, and Buñuel films on the BBC. So there had been, back in those days, there was some foreign language films.
Is that where did Channel 4 take them and stop? I can't remember now, because that's where I mostly saw the foreign films. I remember on Channel 4 in the 90s, but
yeah, maybe so. Maybe.
So yeah, here's a question for a director and actor: do you prefer being in front or behind the camera?
Oh, being in front is easier.
Oh, okay.
But being behind it means that you get to go to the editing room and edit the film. And that's the most fun of all, because editing is where you make the film. And so in that sense, they're both good in different ways, They're both good. They're both very collaborative things, whereas being a writer is like a solitary pursuit. But they're all enjoyable. I like them all.
What's your writing technique? Do you have to have complete shut off from everyone and just hours of typing, or do you go back and forward? Or
I just sit down and do it for whenever the opportunity presents itself.
Right.
I mean, I find it hard to work in a very noisy or distracting environment, but I'm not entirely precious about it.
Okay.
I can sit with somebody else in the room, or quiet.
Do you use a laptop?
Yes, I do type on a computer now. I mean, the thing was that I used to type on an IBM Selectric typewriter, which was the IBM Selectric 3 was like the high point of typewriting technology. The keyboard was so great, And then when laptop computers came out, IBM had a laptop computer, big, chunky, heavy thing, the keyboard of which mimicked the keyboard of the Selectric.
Okay.
And that was an easy transition, because back in those days, the IBM keyboards were second to none, and so you were still typing on an IBM keyboard, and the keyboard was the important thing.
Nice. What else you got here? Oh, sorry, I'll go back to that. Robert Blake died last year. He was never charged with the murder, but he ended up in Hollywood jail. He later claimed he really directed Electric Light in Blue. Okay.
Was he not charged with murder? Because how could he have ended up in jail for a prolonged period if he wasn't charged with murder? Did they keep him? They were just keeping him there,
I seem to remember him, but yeah, it's just like that.
I wonder what the circumstances. I mean, I remember because I used to read the National Enquirer, that scandal sheet,
right? Yes,
in the supermarket, and so I followed that story in those days, and I understood that he had been convicted. But maybe you're right. And I'm sure he had input into the direction of Electric Light in Blue, because he was an experienced actor, and it was the director's first film. But let's not deny the director his credit.
Sure,
it's quite a good film, and a very well acted film. And the guy who plays opposite Robert Blake, Billy Green Bush, another fantastic actor.
Definitely. I know Alex loves The Great Silence with Klaus Kinski, who was so evil in that performance. Does he feel Kinski was overlooked, as he's mainly a European film actor and didn't feature in American movies?
I think, yeah. I mean, he was in a couple of American movies. The very first movie that he did, I think, was Dr. Zhivago. But he only has a very small role in that, a very small but striking role. And then later in his career, I know he went out and did a Corman movie, which they shot at the Corman studio in the Lumberyard in Venice, California. But I think you're right. Yeah, I don't think he had a very big American career. I don't think he was looking for that. He was very, idiosyncratic person, and was, I don't know if he was ever happy, but he certainly seemed to be driven to a certain world.
Yes, yeah. I'm not sure some Americans would get on with him. I remember have heard you almost directed Mars Attacks, your own version that never got made, and you started working on that in 1985.
That's right. I took the bubblegum cards to a studio called TriStar and said we should make a movie based on these bubblegum cards. And John Davison, who was the producer of RoboCop, was assigned as the producer of Mars Attacks, and he and I developed a screenplay, worked on it for a couple of years, and it then kind of went belly up because they assigned the screenplay to another writer. The name of that writer was Martin Amis. And Martin Amis had never written a screenplay, He was the son of Kingsley Amis, the privileged boy from London, and he didn't do a very good job. I don't know if he ever finished the script or not, but they didn't show it to me anyway, whatever he did. And he then wrote an article in the New Yorker magazine ridiculing the executives at TriStar, which I'm sure he thought was very clever, but of course that put the markers on the project forever, And then years later, I got a call from the casting director of Mars Attacks when Tim Burton was directing it, saying, "Oh, do you have the rights to the bubblegum cards?" And I said, "Unfortunately, no, because nobody ever secured the rights. It was crazy. They were developing this film and they hadn't secured the rights to the bubblegum cards." So I imagine that Tim Burton's production eventually did indeed secure the rights to the bubblegum cards, but none of us got it right. I thought that the film that he made wasn't very good. I thought that the script that I wrote wasn't very good. The only way to really do that film properly would have been to make it exactly like the bubblegum cards. So there'd be like a series of like 52 short scenes involving Martians and mayhem. And that would have been an amazing film.
Yeah. So, I was gonna say, when you moved, what was the move to LA like in the 70s?
Got a bigger motorcycle. I had a little Honda 175 when I was in. When I was in England, and then when I went to Los Angeles, I got a Honda 360. But that didn't last very long. There was something wrong with it. One of the cylinders blew up. Then I had a BMW, a 60/6, which had been in a wreck, but my mechanic friend of mine fixed it up. I rode that around, got in the wreck on that, was in a cast for 3 months.
Oh, right.
Norton Commando, that never ran either. And I was in an English motorcycle club for a little while. We all had English motorcycles, none of which ran. I think we only had one outing together. Me, a guy with a Norton, and a guy with a BSA. Two other guys with Nortons and a BSA. And then another Beamer, a 90/6 Beamer. And then I had an R100 RT when I came back to England to do Sid and Nancy. But that was too large of a motorcycle. It was cumbersome, and if it fell over, you couldn't pick it up again.
Right.
And that's the motorcycle which George rides in Straight to Hell, which is washed by Fabienne.
Right. Okay. Because are you mechanical or are you just just like the ride to
No,
bikes.
no, I'm mechanically illiterate. I mean, I knew how to change the spark plugs
Right.
and to put oil in. But I was lucky because when I was living in Los Angeles, after I left the English Motorcycle Club, I found a very, very good Italian motorcycle mechanic in the San Fernando Valley called Vito Maggi. And so Vito was the mechanic who kept my BMWs running.
Nice. Okay. So at the hour mark, are you all right to carry on for a few more questions?
Yeah, I do a few more. We've been going for more than an hour already, but yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, if you're fine, okay. A couple more, and then we'll talk about the campaign for a little bit. And then, what was your most challenging movie making experience? Walker looked like a tough one.
Oh yeah. Walker was difficult for a lot of reasons. Because we were making it in Nicaragua and it was wartime, and there was a lot of sort of hostility to the project on the back end that really didn't want it to succeed. So that was difficult, but I was lucky because I had an extremely good producer, Lorenzo O'Brien, who I'd met when I was a student at UCLA. And thanks to him, we actually kept it together, you know. And when I would fail at something, he would succeed and pull it through, you know. So that was probably the most challenging of all the films that I did, but in a lot of ways, the most rewarding. You know?
Nice. Yeah, it's it's an amazing film. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be so violent, but yeah, it goes full out, doesn't it?
It's yeah. Well, I mean, it's about a very, very terrible. It's about war, and war is very terrible.
Because there was a bit of trivia about the helicopter that's featured at the end. When it turned up, it was they cleaned up the blood from it because it was being used for
the helicopter had come straight from the war front and had been used to ferry injured and dead Sandinista soldiers from the front, where they were fighting the American-inspired terrorists known as the Contras. And so, so we unfortunately did get a little bit close to the reality of that at times. But we were, you know, what did we know? You know,
Were you in any real danger, or were you kept safe enough away?
Oh, I mean, we were very privileged. I mean, there weren't very many occasions when I was in any danger. Really.
Okay.
I mean, we were very privileged, you know, we were very fortunate. And at the end of the process, having made Walker and having stayed there for quite a while after the film was finished, so that we were editing it and Joe Strummer was there working on the soundtrack. But we all had our tickets home, you know.
Okay.
And that wasn't the case with a lot of other people who were dealing with very, very difficult situations that became more and more difficult. I think things are better now. I think that the Sandinistas have been back in power for a long time now, and that things are much better in Nicaragua than anyone would have thought. You know, just as long as you don't believe what you read in the Guardian or see on the BBC. But but I think that the situation in Nicaragua has greatly improved. And if I had to be a poor person in Latin America, I would like to be a poor person in Nicaragua.
Okay, right. Because I've always wanted to know, like Ed Harris is he's always very serious in all his roles. What's he like off camera? Does he maintain that, or does he have a laugh?
He's a very intense character. Ed's a very intense character, but I mean, he's got a sense of humor. He's very sharp. On Walker, he became the sort of the leader of the actors. You know, in addition to being the leader of the actors on screen, he was also the leader of the actors off screen. And when, you know, they weren't getting paid because something had happened to the money back in LA, and you know, Ed was like, well, they're all going to go on strike next week, and I'm going to go on strike with them, you know. So he was cool. Ed was a very, very cool actor, and also a brilliant actor, a very brilliant actor.
Yeah.
But put him in that film with Klaus Kinski and Gian-Maria Volonté.
There's a film. Because, I guess he did Abyss after your film, and then...
That was the next film. Yeah.
Yes. So he would have had a lot worse time on that one, apparently, isn't he?
Yeah, he nearly drowned on that.
So crazy. Right. So yeah, how close were you to filming RoboCop?
Oh no, I wasn't. I was no. That was Paul Verhoeven. I was asked to direct the sequel to RoboCop, but the script wasn't very good. I mean, the thing about the original RoboCop was it had a great screenplay by Michael Miner and Ed Neumeyer that was so funny, very unique screenplay. And Verhoeven directed that and did a fantastic job.
Right. I'll take one more, and then we'll go back to the campaign. Have you seen Danny Boyle's Sex Pistols series?
No, I haven't. Somebody just told me about that last week. No, I haven't seen it. I don't watch a lot of telly. But is it good?
Well, let's see if anyone says. Actually, I have that one's a good one. CGI heavy movies. Does it enhance movie or kill a movie? Because you did a green screen movie with Repo Chick, didn't you?
Yeah, I think it just depends on the film, doesn't it? I mean, CGI might be very beneficial. I mean, certainly the people who made Barbie saw Repo Chick, but CGI is just computer generated images, isn't it? And so it could be anything. It could be green screen, it could be a dinosaur, it could be a space rocket. It's whatever the computer generates. As long as there's a human being, operating the computer, and we're not being falling down the rabbit hole of AI. It's just another tool, isn't it, to be used by the filmmaker.
Yes. Do you ever see AI taking your job as a writer?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, everything I've written has been absorbed by Microsoft and Google and these big corporations. There's massive copyright theft has taken place and is being used to train, AI to make mediocre projects.
Yeah.
But it suits the studios and it suits the financiers because then they don't have to deal with people.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, isn't it?
Anyway, any more of those guys out there? Nah, they've all fallen asleep now. Everyone's asleep now.
Alex, are you done working? DeLorean. Alex should have done working for Studio De Laurentiis Entertainment Group, his unmade projects back in the day.
Don't understand.
No, you won't want to. Apparently, there's
missing from the question.
Too much stock footage in the.
The Sid. No, this is about the Sex Pistols series.
Sex Pistols. So yeah, episode 5 is called Nancy and Sid. Your film is so much better. There you go.
Oh well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's very interesting. I'm still in constant contact with Ed Tudor-Pole, who after Lydon left the Sex Pistols, McLaren asked Tudor-Pole to become the front man of the Sex Pistols. And I think Ed very wisely, I think he was the front man of the Sex Pistols for like a day and then thought, I better not do this, But I'm still in touch with him. I like him very much. He's a very good guy. And he's just written his autobiography, which is called The Pen is Mightier, which is going to be published next year. So, and he has a lot to say about the early days of punk and London in those years. It's a very entertaining book.
Okay, there you go. Right, go. One last question. Very easy one for you. Fistful of Dollars or Yojimbo?
Oh, Yojimbo. Definitely Yojimbo. Yeah, the action is much better. The action scenes in Yojimbo are incredible. But Yojimbo's sequel, Sanjuro, is not as good as For a Few Dollars More.
Ah, okay. It's reverse.
Oh.
Nice. So yeah, I've put the link back in. Hang on. What am I doing? I'll put the link back in. So yeah, any final words about your campaign, Mr. Cox?
No, just thanks. I want to say thank you to those who have already backed it while watching this show. That was terribly kind. And yeah, please back the project, and fingers crossed, we'll make a good film, and I'll be able to share it with you in August of next year.
Lovely. We look forward to it. So thanks for Mr. Cock for joining me tonight.
Thank you, man. It was very nice. It was very nice talking to you, and wish you all the best.
And to you too, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll keep posting stuff once there's updates on Kickstarter. I'll share them out as well. So
Great. Great. All right. Very good.
All right. You take care, sir.
You too. Have a nice evening.
And you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Right. There we go. Sorry I couldn't get to everyone's questions. Sorry for the internet issues at the beginning. But I shall say goodnight to you. Thanks. Oh, thank you, Texas. Thanks, Alex. Brilliant show. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks, Terence. And thanks for that VHS. It's nice to meet you first time. Yes. Thanks, everyone, for joining me tonight. It was a little bit shaky at the beginning, but we got there in the end. Yeah, thank you, Ian. All right. I shall. Oh, it's late. School night and all. So take care, everyone. And, interview with was it James Bruner on Wednesday evening at this time, or 10 p.m. He did, was it the Delta Force? He did a load of Canon films. Delta Force, An Eye for an Eye, POW: The Escape, Delta Force 1, Invasion USA, and Missing in Action. So we'll go from there. But thank you, everyone. I mean that. Have a good evening.